Hey, what's up? This is Tim with Studio 4 Media, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to create this near-miss scene. We have a train coming, and the car comes really close to it, and looks like it's getting ready to hit it. This is a very simple scene to set up, and you can get a really cool result. As you can see here, it can be a really cool climax shot to an action scene or a chase scene or whatever. And using this technique, you can do a lot of things. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and drop in my footage into a new comp. Now, what's important about this shot is the way you set it up. So I'm going to explain how you can set up a shot like this and what things you want to look for, and that way when you guys are doing your own, you can have the knowledge of how to do that. But also, I will make all these files available in the project files, so feel free to download those as well. I'm going to drop this in to a new comp, and you can see what we have here. The stock footage is just a train track where I've got a camera on a tripod and I'm waiting for a train to come. So actually it takes a while. The footage is actually kind of long, so I'm going to just kind of scrub through and see when the train is coming. So here it is, right about here. If you do decide to shoot a shot like this and you shoot by a train track, I actually got in trouble for doing this. So just keep that in mind, that you can only get so close to trains before they freak out on you and they call the police. So, but don't worry, we got it all figured out, and we got the shot we needed, so it turned out really cool. So yeah, here we go. We got this train, and it's coming really close to the camera, and it's a really cool angle, and it looks great. Now the key here is I have another piece of footage that if I drag it here, you'll see it's just a car coming, and then it swerves and stops really close to the track. Comes in, swerves, stops really close to the train track. You can see here it's just like barely missing it. So it's just two different pieces of footage, and one is a train, one is a car, and all we're going to do is just splice these together. So the important thing when you're setting up this shot is to make sure a couple factors. Number one, the camera cannot move. So it's on a tripod right now, and you can see if I turn this one on, turn this one off, the camera is actually not moving at all. If you look in this area right here, it stays the exact same. So the camera's in the same spot. That's very important. Another thing you need to worry about too is the lighting in the scene, because as we try to splice these two together, if the lighting does not work, it's going to be really hard to fix. You can get away with a little bit and fix it with color correction, but if you wait too long between shooting these shots, the sun actually goes down or changes position in the sky, and the shadows are different on the ground, and that makes it difficult to fix in post-production, and also makes it not look believable when you try to put those together. So if you're shooting a shot like this where you're just splicing two things together, you got to make sure that the camera doesn't move, and also have to make sure that the lighting stays the same. If you're outside, just make sure you shoot it in a really short time period, because the sun will change in the sky. In fact, if you look right here on this piece of wood and this steel beam, if I go back and forth, you can see that shadows are actually different, because it took about 30 minutes to an hour before we got a good shot. And actually over here too, you can see the shadows on these storage boxes are different. So it's quite a big difference, but we fix it in post. This is probably the maximum amount of time you want to wait in between a shot. But yeah, I'll show you what I did in order to get it to look at least halfway decent. So what I want to do is I want to start with the shot that has the car, and comes in right about here, so I'm going to trim this up. There we go. Bring it up and try to get the timing right. Now let's go ahead and hit T on the keyboard and lower the opacity of our car shot. And all I want to do is make sure I get the timing right. So now I can see both here, and I just want to move these around to where I can get the timing right. So I want the train to come in as the car is sliding. So it slides right about there. I want the train to be So let's try that. So the car comes in, stops right there. So I think right there looks good. Train's coming, the car comes in, and boom, there we go. So let's trim this up. Alright, so if we push play now, we can see train's coming, and here comes the car, and it comes really close. Doesn't hit, but nearly misses. So, perfect. That is the clip that we want. So now our timing is correct. All we got to do is mask out or rotoscope this car scene, so we can set the opacity back to 100. And I'm not going to go through all this 100% because it takes quite a long time. But I will show you some techniques and things to watch for whenever you are doing this for this scene or for another scene. So you see here, like you can see, the difference between the shadows, as you saw before when I turned this on and off, is pretty drastic. So you want to find a point on your scene that would not show those shadows very much. Now the point I chose was right here along this train rail. So my mask is going to go up, it's going to go over, and then go along the train rail again all the way back to the end right here. That's where it's going to start. So if I select our car scene, and you can just rename these, that way they don't get confused, car and then train. Select our car footage and bring out my pen tool, and then just create a mask from here and just bring it up along here all the way over here, and you're going to notice a difference on this box for sure, so you're going to want to go over it, otherwise the colors will be different. If I just went straight through, this part would be darker and that part would be lighter because of the shadows. This one, you don't have to worry about it so much because it's kind of blurred out. So that there would probably be fine. And let's go ahead and close this off and see what it looks like. So if I turn this back on, that fits pretty seamless. You can't really see the difference between this footage and that footage. You can see the right in here, you can't see where the mask is really. If, for example, I decided to go through this box here, if I pull this down, you can see now how its colors are different, and it's a pretty distinct line through that. So let's bring that back up. And this here looks really good. And as we move this forward, you're going to notice the problem, and that is that the mask is now cutting off our car, and we don't want that. We want it to be around our car. So what we need to do is open up our mask properties and just select your car and hit M, and that'll bring up the mask path properties, and now we can go ahead and animate this mask to fit our car. So this is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and scroll forward, and we're going to get away with it for a while because we don't need to move our mask all the way up until, let's go ahead and zoom in here. Scroll forward, I guess right when the windshield comes in. The bottom half of the car is fine, but once that windshield comes in, we need to adjust it. So let's go ahead and make another. Let's go ahead and go back to the beginning and make a keyframe for our mask. That way we just have it there at the beginning. And then right about here, we'll make another keyframe. And now as we go forward, I would just skip forward every few frames and adjust our mask. So now we have to bring this up, bring this one up, and this one as well. And I'll just always check by double clicking out on the side and make sure that it looks good from far away. Pretty seamless. Okay, let's go forward a few more frames, and now we can really start adjusting our mask to fit our car. Like I said, I'm not going to go through this all the way, but I wanted to at least show you how to do it. And it looks like we need to add some more points, otherwise this is going to be a really rigid outline. So I'll show you how to do that here in a second. This looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and see where we need to add some more points. So right in here, if we go up to our pen tool and just hover over our line, you can see a plus sign comes up there. We'll just add a point there, add a point here, add 2 points here, and then move those into position. So this needs to come down, this needs to go over. And the tighter you make this mask, the closer you can get it to the car, the better it will look. In the original example, I think I had way more points than this, and I really took my time on it and made sure that I got every little crease and everything flowed real nice and good. This looks pretty good for now. And so now you can see as we scroll through, our mask is going to change, and we can just make sure that it changes properly and then we have no problems with it. Like right there, there's a problem, and we can fix that easily enough. Goes up here, we'll move this one up. Not bad. And also, these here started moving to go into position. We don't want those to move quite yet because we want it to stay on the track. If this moves up, it gets rid of the train, and we don't want to do that quite yet. So let's keep these down. Okay, that looks good. And so far, looking pretty good. You just continue this process until you get the entire car rotoscoped out. And really, it doesn't take too long. Like I said, if it was me, I would take a lot more time on this and just try to get it looking really good. Put this back over here. You might need to, as the shot continues, add more points because we have more things to cover up. Now we have a longer part of the hood we need to cover up, or the roof. And you get the idea. So I'm going to finish this and then come back and we will continue from there. Okay, so we have our car here, and you can see it's all been rotoscoped out. Also, you can see how many points I have along here. Just try to put in as many as what's needed to fit that car perfectly. The better the rotoscope on this, the better it will look. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like. So the train comes in, and the car comes in from the side and screeches to a halt. It looks like it almost hits it. So you can see already we have a really believable shot, and it looks really good. I'm pretty happy with this result. If you, like I said in the very beginning, if you set up your scene correctly, whenever you're shooting it out there, it makes this process a lot easier. So make sure you do that when you're doing a shot like this. So now all we're going to try to do is just enhance this shot. What I'm going to do is just take a frame where I have both my train and my car in the scene, because the color is a little bit different between both of those. So let's go ahead and select my car, go to Effect, Color Correction, Curves. All I'm going to adjust, I think, is just the brightness, because the car seems a little too bright. So I'm going to bring down right here a little bit, and maybe a little bit more right here, just to adjust, keep it from being so bright. I think those fit. That fits a lot better. Now what I can do is I can go ahead and add some other elements to make this look more believable. You can see over here I have some different elements. These have been pulled off from the Action Essentials pack from Video Copilot. So you can take a look there. I have something called dust wave here. I'm going to pull that in, and you can see here what this is. So I have a dust coming out. If I play this, scrub this through, you can see the dust just kind of billows out from underneath something. So I want to add this here right as the train comes by. So right about here, and I want to position it in a place where it will, yeah, that looks pretty good. And also let's go ahead and resize it up. Something like this here. That way when the train comes, this dust just kind of billows out. Now obviously this is a little too much, but we can fix that later. Move it up, and then what I want to do is just go over here to my ellipse tool, double click it, and that way it puts a nice ellipse around our that dust. And we'll hit F on the keyboard, and that'll bring up the mask feather, and we'll just bring that up to a value of 5. Try that first and see if that feathers it out. No, let's go ahead and bring it up quite a bit actually, so that feathers out nicely. So value of about 75 I put on that mask. Then what I want to do is I want this dust to have a really big impact at first and then kind of fade away faster, because as you can see now it lingers around and just kind of clutters up our scene. So I'm going to go in here and hit T with the dust selected, bring up our opacity, and I think I want it to start out at about 85. So I will set a keyframe there, and as it comes out that looks good. So I'll set another one here, and then I want it to fade out to 0 a little bit further on. So let's just take a look at that and see what it looks like. Alright, so here comes the train, and there it is. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. And let's just see it fade out here, see if it fades out quick enough. Looks good. I like that a lot. I'm going to shorten our scene here, so that way whenever we do a render again it doesn't take nearly as long. So that looks pretty good. I might have our start value be a little bit less. Let's try 75 for both of those keyframes, and I think that'll look a lot better. So, alright, so now that we have some dust blowing out, another thing we can add is some particles floating in the air. I think I used number 11, so I will bring that out and put it above our dust. And you can see here, this is just some particles floating in the air. This was also taken from Video Copilot. It's a free download. I'll make this one available in the project files. Scale this one up, and this just has some residual dust in the air, which I think always makes your shots look more believable. So I'm going to set this to screen and bring the opacity down to a value of 80, and we can see what that looks like. So you can see here, if you just look around in here, you have a little bit of dust specks flying, and I just like the way that this looks. It helps bring in believability to your shots, I think. The other thing we can do is make a new adjustment layer. So go Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and just color correct this overall and get a better look there. So I will go to Effect, bring up our latest one, which has been Curves, and just maybe add a little bit more contrast to our scene. And go to the red channel, boost our red channel up just a little bit, add some more contrast, bring the green down a touch, and maybe bring the blue up just a little bit. I think our red, we have a little bit too much red. Let's bring that down. Something like that there, I think Looks good. You can see just we had a lot of green in our shot originally, so just more of a contrast and take out a little bit of that green. I think helps sharpen it up, makes it look better. So this is really pretty much it. A really simple technique, and just you can do some things to add, like the dust and the specks flying around to the believability. Also, another thing you can do is right here, right before as the car hits, right in this area. I think what I also did was add this shot here, which is some welding sparks. So you can see here along the side there, you get like some flashes and then sparks fly out. So I'm going to go to right here, right where it sparks up, rotate this around, and I want to bring this here to where it fits up with our car. So kind of as this hits, it sparks fly out. And I'm going to bring this opacity down to, let's try 65, and just play this real quick. That might not be enough. Let's bring it back up to 75. There we go. And this might require some animation as well, just because right now it's kind of off, but then later on it fits on perfectly. So you can just hit P on the keyboard, bring up the position, and let's keyframe this and make sure it's on the car. Go forward, make sure it's on the car again, and make sure everything in between is on the car. That looks pretty good. And we can just go ahead and play this out and see what we think. So you can see there's some dust flying around in the air. Train comes up, almost hits it. You get the sparks flying out. Gives it kind of a believable shot. I think overall this looks really good. The dust might be a little bit too much, too intimidating. That's a real simple fix. We can just bring down that opacity. So maybe let's bring it down to 60, or maybe even 40. That probably looks a lot better. So this is pretty much it. Hopefully you guys enjoy this tutorial. Hopefully you learned something, and feel free to ask me any questions or comments you have about this. And I'd also like to see the kind of stuff you guys are making with this technique, so feel free to post that on YouTube, and make sure you check out studio4media.com, where we have a whole bunch of tutorials in After Effects as well as in Maya 3D. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. We will see you next time.